Goldie, did you acknowledge him today? Goldie. I don't care if anybody else does, because these two won't acknowledge me. But did you acknowledge the top dog of the board?
I only acknowledge one man, and he says, "Go fuck yourself."
Hi, everybody, it's BigPapaGrump. Welcome to the Board Doom podcast. This is going to be a weird one, but first I'm going to go over a couple of things. We're making a few changes to the board. We're adding 3 new members who will be revealed later once we get all the nicknames official. I'm looking at you, champ. And then we made a change to the Money in the Bank stipulation, which will be explained in more detail when and if we ever get a Money in the Bank pay-per-view, because God only knows with WWE anymore. It'll probably be in Saudi. And then what was the third one?
Money in the Bank.
I just said Money in the Bank.
No, adding more pay-per-view predictions.
Oh yeah. And we're also adding AEW and NXT pay-per-views to the board. Actual like pay-per-view / premium live events, not like Winter is Coming, which is just a special episode of
Battle of the Belts
or Battle of the Belts or whatever. This, the actual pay-per-views like like Double or Nothing, Stand and Deliver, that kind of thing. So I'm a little torn on Fyter Fest. I haven't quite
Fyter Fest. They normally run. They don't run as a.
Okay, well,
simple. If it runs on TBS, it doesn't count.
Right. So I just wasn't sure about that one. So those are some minor changes, and I guess we could real quick before we get into the actual. We have a topic, which is why I said this could be a weird one, and then we're gonna have story time with BigPapaGrump real quick. We can do like a quick rundown of what happened over the last week, which was a whole lot of nothing, and then something. Because SmackDown was totally uneventful. Barely watchable, to be honest with you. And Raw, we got a really good promo between Cody and The Miz. Like, that was just really well done, but I could care less about anything The Miz does at this point, because I like The Miz. I think The Miz is great, but he's just there's nothing going on there. It's just like, hey, I got a segment and I'm going to lose to this guy. Unless I've got Logan Paul and I'm wrestling the Mysterios, because somebody's got to lose more than The Miz. And then and so we're getting Cody versus Seth again, which, okay, fine, I'm good with that. And Ronda came out and did angry pout into a microphone, which I thought was weird, but I guess that's going to be a submission match. So
standard Ronda.
Yeah, exactly. Her character is just terrible. And by the way, I think
into a corner again.
Her, like, the crowd response to her, part of me thinks that's why the crowd did not respond at all to Marina Shafir. Because if you heard like last night, that crowd was dead.
Yeah,
there was zero reaction for that. People know who she is.
It wasn't, but it was a glorified squash match, though, too. I mean,
right.
Scott Blue's got some fans, but it was what it was. And what for a stacked card, that was the lowest on the card. So
yeah, but that actually kind of goes. I think Russell Talk made the point that crowd was hot all night. I mean, except for we'll get to the ending, and then but the Marina Shafir match was just dead air.
But I think you also got to really look at it. Prior to NXT, she really didn't wrestle. She was primarily just an MMA fighter.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have. It's the same basic thing. Like, you have to give it time. And
I completely agree.
She's going to be one that you look at potential matches. You could see Layla Hirsch and her going. That, in my opinion, that'd be a fun match to watch, because Layla Hirsch is actually growing. But then you're also looking at, you could put her up with Ruby Soho. You could put her up with Nala Rose and all those. There's potential. You just got to give her time to grow.
Yeah, and again, we're just in the starting point of that too. It was her first match with Dynamite. She's been doing nothing but dark. I think she had one on Rampage. And sure, diehards know what she is or who she is, but she's never had that moment. She's never had that moment in a wrestling ring where you're like, damn, that, let's go. She's never had a moment. So, like,
because WWE book the Four Horsewomen versus the Four Horsewomen.
Yeah, it never got booked and it never came to fruition because her and, they thought her and Jessamine Duke weren't ready. And, in the handful of tag matches that they showed on TV, they weren't, stealing shows or anything like that. So,
yeah.
But again, yeah, I don't read too much into that the crowd wasn't hot for that. Again, Scott mostly wrestles on dark too. So
it also became crickets at the end of the night too.
Yeah, let's just jump to that because first of all, Penta versus CM Punk.
Absolutely.
That was fun. The World Tag Championship match. I enjoyed it.
Luchasaurus actually didn't botch too much. It was pretty.
Yeah, it was good.
I like how your tag champs are secondary storylines in their own feuds.
Yeah, that's been making the rounds too. That they do feel like the least important tag team out of all of them.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
kudos. We've hit it so many times, but that's kudos to their tag division too. There's so many top tag teams that.
Yeah, and it is what it is at this point. We all know what it's building to.
At least it's competitive.
Yeah,
right. But it's building.
At least there is one.
Red Dragon and Young Bucks, and we understand that. But at some point, they showed out at the last pay-per-view. Like, it's not that people don't recognize them for who they are. They'll get their time. It's just right now is more important of a storyline is to have Red Dragon versus the Young Bucks, which is what they've been working to since Red Dragon showed up.
So I'm just going to skip to the end. What the hell was...
Before we skip to the end, because you're going to miss parts, but these tag matches you're bringing up, Keith Lee and Swerve and Starks and Hobbs tore the fuck up.
That was a good match. I enjoyed that.
That was a really good match. That was probably the match of the night. And they all had some damn good chemistry. But
the top springboard onto Keith Lee's chest.
Yeah.
And the moves. I was like, what the hell? And Keith Lee was just like, go ahead, buddy. Right here. You got it. You got it.
I can take it.
Yeah. Because I am limitless.
So
even the fact of Keith Lee losing on that, just with the little foot grab and the spine buster, is massive for Hobbs.
Yeah.
But Ricky Starks continues to just be the man. I mean, he does not get enough credit at all.
I mean, Keith Lee was just dominating until he got hooked up with Swerve, and Swerve just brought him down. That's the whole reason. If you notice, he's 0-1 since he's teaming with Swerve.
Shit,
but
Swerve's fault.
Oh yeah, I definitely am going to blame Swerve until proven otherwise.
Give me top dollar.
Nah, I'll keep Swerve. But the
Makers, as they're now called.
I mean, I wouldn't have mind seeing the entire faction come over, but that is what it is. But yeah, so and then we get to the segment that I like to call "How to Ruin Samoa Joe in One Episode," or how to drag down the company you just bought in one episode, because that was
well they
garbage.
But the whole thing is you know and I know it's been. They are not the first company to do it.
No,
they ain't going to be the third. Like TNA did it, WWE did it.
I think the way they could have saved that was not do the lights out angle. They should just had him pop up and hit him from behind. It would have gone a little fast. It would have sped it up a little bit, and it wouldn't have been because when the lights go out, now I got that Fozzy song stuck in my head. But when the lights go out, you're expecting a certain level of surprise, and then when you're faced with who,
you fans are supposed to know. They're supposed to be the smartest fans in the business, right?
I
Well-
mean,
I too really enjoyed Wednesday Night Raw.
yeah,
That was not a good way to close the show at all.
no.
But
But,
there
you know,
was
live
a
and
lot
learn.
of hype on that show overall. And the one we didn't touch on, because this isn't even worth talking about at this point anymore. Like no one cares until they figure out what they're going to do with this. But that Eddie Kingston, Santana and Ortiz versus the JAS, that was really good, and it continues to blow my mind just how much the fans are truly behind Eddie Kingston.
They were chanting for Eddie Guerrero, you dumbass. They weren't chanting.
Shut up! Shut the hell
Chanting
up!
for Eddie Gilbert.
Santana's some wannabe just doing cheap pops. They were chanting for Eddie Guerrero.
So wait a minute. I'm going to hold you to that because when I see other guys doing the exact same Three Amigos and everything else, oh, it's
I
just
brought
for
up Eddie Gilbert, and I get nothing for that.
okay. Hot stuff doesn't deserve
Thank you.
hot stuff. We're not
Carry
talking
on.
stuff right now.
Hot stuff
So-
doesn't deserve any shade.
No, not at all. But the next guy that we see do the Three Amigos, I'm gonna just be like, oh, they're just doing it for the cheap pop. They just want the cheap.
It'll be Rey Mysterio or somebody. Or Dom.
That's the only time anybody does the Three Amigos is for a cheap pop. Anyways,
Or Sasha Banks.
yeah, she does it for a cheap pop. I mean, I understand the homage thing. Yeah, when you're doing an homage, you do it once.
Right.
When you
But-
do it every match, you're just trying to get the cheap nostalgia pop.
We single-handedly had one of the
Paid.
best shirts on AEW last night. The
Nice.
thumb shirt. When he came out with that thumb shirt for JYD, I was like, all right, thank you. I appreciate that.
I missed it. I must have been peeing or something. So, all right.
Hey,
Trying to think. Yeah, go ahead.
we do gotta. I know you guys are all PO'd about the ending with ROH and
Yeah, I mean, I was exaggerating, but
what's his full name again? Is it like Sanjeet Singh?
Satnam Singh.
Satnam Singh?
the Mark knows.
The unfortunate reality is, okay, it didn't pop for these guys here, but like globally and them, trying to push into India, like it really is a massive deal.
Oh, it is. It is absolutely.
And-
He's the firstborn Indian player to
Yes.
ever be drafted in the NBA. He's never played an NBA game, but he's the first guy from India.
Yeah.
He's 7'6", and I just have one question: is it just me, or do really big guys from India not move well at all?
Well, first off,
I mean,
anybody
most big guys, period, don't.
Yeah.
anything anybody over
Said
7
most.
foot tall that doesn't hail from Death Valley doesn't move very well. Okay.
So Kane doesn't move well.
Even Kane doesn't. He's from Knox.
Move well.
He's not from Death Valley. He's from Knox County. I said what I said. But anyway,
Again, your point is not valid.
no, it is pretty valid. Most NBA guys over 7 feet don't move that well either, dude. It's been historic, like throughout history, a majority of them don't move that well.
What's his name now? Because I don't even know the guy's name. Ennis Cantor. Now he's like Truth something.
And, well, we can't get into Ennis Freedom. He's blackballed from the NBA.
That's what it is. He moves
He's
well.
blackballed. But anyway,
It is. I understand
like
because
Look,
Andre did.
and first off, for us, the Board of Doom to throw shade at the Indians is blasphemy because the Indian support system.
How is the
Right.
Board of Doom throwing shade at India?
And I'm
By
not-
saying how bad the ending was and how bad Singh's they
no. What we're saying is
How? Wait, first of all, how does the
if
fact
it has
that,
a negative
that-
connotation, it's
yeah? So how does the fact that Tony Khan overbooked this guy's debut throw shade at India? If
Because-
anything, we are supporting
saying
him
to-
because he disrespected India.
I never said Tony Khan was throwing shade at India.
No, I am.
Yeah, you guys, the board, some of the board members are. But anyway,
You are the only one who's doing that.
who
it's a
who's
huge deal.
throwing need. No one's
You guys are
listen. No, first
by
off,
saying how
let's-
bad the finish was and how bad his debut
Stop.
was.
Yeah,
stop
it was
because
bad.
It was
It's not
It
India's
that
fault.
bad.
It wasn't smooth. It was the
We
transition.
feel terrible for our biggest supporters.
It wasn't that smooth. The whole Suzuki and Samoa Joe match wasn't. All they did was just
You know what? I'm not. You're
He
not.
just titty flicked him for 15 fucking minutes.
Hey, can you
And
just?
it was
Loses
great.
their mind.
Can you just mute him? Because the simple fact that you would disrespect Minoru Suzuki shows what kind of a person you are. Shows what kind of a wrestler. There's not a single person on this planet that appreciates pro wrestling that is ever going to talk bad about Minoru Suzuki.
I'm just happy we got to see his entrance.
Yes, one and two. First off, that was exactly what it was supposed to be. It was exactly what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be beat the hell out of each other at any cost. Just beat the hell out of each other. Have fun with it. Because Joe's notorious for being stiff, and so is Suzuki. What was wrong with them chopping the crap out of each other for 15 freaking minutes?
Beat the hell out of each other and no selling for 10 minutes. A bunch of titty chops for 10 minutes and no
Go
selling.
watch Leo Rush
They're
match.
fucking classic, dude. And I get it. I
Go
understand.
watch a Leo Rush match.
It's a different thing and it suits other people.
Of a ladder and no sell a freaking power bomb through a table off the top.
Okay. So, because this is going to go on for 45 minutes, we have to get back on point. So I'm moderating this down to knock it off level because
He's still not as big of a deal as Veer Mahan.
I mean, who is? I mean, that dude came for like 6 months. So, all right, story time. Hi, Big Papa Grump. I can tell you a little story. See, a few years ago, off the back of filming a all-time classic wrestling match in my front yard, got the idea that we should continue with this YouTube journey of ours. And we started the Board of Doom. And all dozens of you who watched, except for that one video that all of India watched, so, sorry, all the people in like one section of a city in India. And we posted regularly. Everything was going well. Then the pandemic hit, and I got very bored. There wasn't anything going on. Wrestling in front of no crowd. Wrestling was kind of not all that much fun to watch because it was
Leave
kind of
the
weird.
Thunderdome alone.
And then the Thunderdome happened, and WWE featured Kenny Omega on one of their televisions, and it was awesome.
That was funny.
So, stopped posting for just about 2 years. Then one day, sometime in, I believe, December, could be January. Time is weird during a pandemic. I got a text message from Big Shez. Simply said, Brock Lesnar, all-time great or not. And I said, wow, that sounds like a podcast topic. And then my head took a shit, and out came the idea for a podcast style show. Technically, I guess it's not a podcast because you can see us, but that's not the point. And here we are. Finally, after, what is this, episode 12? 50, who knows? We're actually getting around to the topic that started this whole idea. So, today's topic is Brock Lesnar, an all-time great. I'd like to set small guidelines. I don't care to compare Brock Lesnar to Buddy Rogers or Bruno Sammartino or Gorgeous George or Superstar Billy Graham, because most of us don't remember when televisions were all black and white and CJTruth disappears randomly because he's weird. So anyway, I kind of want to start from like Hulkamania, because that's kind of like the modern era of wrestling, even though it's kind of outdated, but we can kind of include back to like around, the heyday of Hogan and Flair. like the end of Harley Race, sort of. That's kind of where I want to concentrate because, you know, I don't want to go all the way back to Haystacks Calhoun and compare Brock Lesnar. You know, it's a completely different business, you know. So I figure we'll start from the beginning of sports entertainment and kind of go from there. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
I want to know how long you practiced that monologue in the mirror.
It was all off the top of my head. And the only reason I got through it without having any kind of nerves is that I'm staring at the fact that for most of this podcast, all you see on my chest is the word head. So I actually positioned it so you can at least see of the for most of it. But I don't want to do like a Mount Rushmore type thing necessarily. We could kind of weave that in, but I guess everybody is going to have some sort of like difference of opinion on what actually that means, what it means to be an all-time great. Is it based on number of titles? Is it based on box office draw? Is it based on t-shirt sales, at which point the Young Bucks win? Is it, you know, how do we measure that? Is it, you know, how many WrestleManias have your headline, at which point, you know, is up there? You know, it's so I guess everybody's going to be bringing to the table their different interpretation of that. So, and I think the whole Mount Rushmore thing is a completely different topic. So I kind of want to swerve away from that. But I do have in my little phone here, because I was bored one day at work, decided to download a bunch of stuff off of Wikipedia. Hey, all right, well, okay, no Shez.
I at this point kind of figured.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, he could have been pulling a Coco or you know, whatever, and joining at 9, or you know, just saying. But yeah, so I guess we'll kind of start. I'm going to start with Junior because I rarely do. Is Brock Lesnar an all-time great?
Oh yeah, 100%. It doesn't matter what criteria you look at. I mean, because of how I've always looked at it, money draw, you know, selling, all this other stuff, you have to look at what type of wrestler Brock Lesnar is. And does he hit the key points of what that wrestler would be? He's the beat you up, walk away, you know, whatever, that type. So you got to look like, does he sell for the small guys? Does he sell? Does whatever? It's like, yeah, you've seen it. We've seen it with Styles, Bryan, I mean, Roman. When he's into it, he sells. He's a huge money draw, like, for obviously. I mean, even his in-ring work is like good. He's not like ridiculous, but like he's good at it. So yeah, he would meet every criteria to be one, I think, no matter what line you go down. Besides, I guess like high flyer, but that doesn't count.
We talking about hell of a shooting press.
Yeah, shooting star press, though. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if you want to go down the list of accolades, 7-time WWE champion, 3-time Universal champion, won the King of the Ring, Money in the Bank, Elimination Chamber, the Royal Rumble twice. I don't care about his Slammy Awards. He's the I think he's still the Guinness Book of World Record holder for youngest person to win the championship at 25 years, 44 days. But I don't think that's right.
Not right.
But at one point, yeah, no, Randy broke. At one point, he was former IWGP heavyweight champion in New Japan, and then he was IWGP heavyweight champion in the Inoki Genome Federation. I don't know. I thought it was the same title reign. Yeah, so I mean, the numbers are there to support that.
Yeah. And like I said, like it depends on what, you know, match it is. I mean, there's been ones that you could see he said, now I'm just gonna beat you up. But like when he's into it, he is a professional wrestler, like at his core. Or a sports entertainer, whichever one you want.
He was booked right from the beginning. Right from the beginning. Calling him the next big thing. Right from the beginning. 6 months. Title. Right. Like, Brock has the quintessential Vince McMahon look. but he also brings a lot of credibility because he's a two-time national champion in
Yes,
collegiate wrestling.
I think so, yeah.
So, I mean, like, he brings credibility to the table. And the guy's built like a freaking cornbread fed farm boy. Like, he just has that perfect look. And I mean, I question when we first started talking about this is, as we can we say he's an all-time great? I think I got to put him up there definitely for the last 2 decades as being one of the top of the decades, because he definitely has the work to prove it. And he didn't just do it in one place, he did it in 2.
Yeah.
So he has the credibility to back it all up. And he got the biggest rubber ball by breaking the streak, because there wasn't another person on the planet that was going to do that. And that's still a hell of a good match.
All right. So with Brock being an all-time great, by definition, you know, I have to say yes, but
so there's but to this.
there's always a major but, you know. And with me, Brock is also kind of an all-time major letdown in a sense. And, you know, I still have that fresh taste in my mouth of just, you know, everything that's going on this year, you know, with Mania and the Rumble. You know, the thing with Brock is, you know, like we said, he did get booked so extraordinarily well when he first came up, you know, beating top guys, beating Van Dam, beating The Rock, you know, getting into his feud with Taker, you know, it just all happened so quick, and he held his own, and it was good. And, you know, pretty much one of the first 2 matches you think of when you say Brock Lesnar as far as his all-time great matches, one of the first 2 you always think of is him and Angle at WrestleMania, you know, with his first run with the company, and then obviously the second one you think of the streak. But, you know, even early on, you know, Brock was always managed right. He always had Heyman with him. He was booked right in that aspect, but like Brock never really showed a lot of like personality. That more came out when he went to UFC, and he could, you know, he had free range to talk, you know, unedited talk, not scripted talk. And it really showed like a lot of like more of his personality. And then, you know, when he came back to WWE, he kind of really didn't have that for a long time. And like, even if you look the last couple of years, you know, I'll go back to as far as, sorry, my dog's going nuts because he heard me talk shit about Lesnar.
Yeah, he's not happy at all right now.
He is not happy at all. Hold on. So, you know, when you go back with some of these last couple, that's dark. But anyway, so when you go back to these last couple Mania matches, you know, even going back all the way to WrestleMania 29, you know, against Triple H, was it really a classic match? No, not really. You know, in my opinion, the WrestleMania 30 match against Taker, was it really a classic match? I mean, you know, we were all expecting Taker to kick out of that third F5, which so many people have done, you know, throughout the years. What else do you really remember from that match? Just that goofy meme of the Undertaker, you know, laughing like that, you know? You don't really remember much a lot of that match, but, you know, and then the last couple years, it's just pretty much, hey, we're going to just put over, you know, whoever the next guy coming up. And, you know, they did well with Drew, and, you know, Rollins obviously gets his rub and things like that. But, you know, like really the only exciting thing that happened with Lesnar, you know, before that, and then it kind of created into the chasm of what we have now is, you know, back at the SummerSlam match with John Cena, you know, where, you know, they started counting the suplexes and he just decimated Cena. That was the first time we've ever seen that, you know.
I did enjoy that a lot.
We all did at the time, you know,
Yeah.
and because you never seen it. Cena was still in that Superman phase, and you never seen it. And then, you continue on, and then a little bit down the road, then what he does to Randy Orton, another all-time great. But then it just kind of ends in the no contest, and he kind of left you wondering, what the hell was that? The blood, did he really do that? Did he go off? Whatever. But now it's just those fun moments just created this same rinse. It used to be eat, sleep, conquer, repeat. Now it's just this fucking rinse cycle of just repeating the same old thing. His matches has been the same. They're hard hitting. They're fast. It's the same power moves, the moves of doom. It's kickouts. They're just quick splash moves and matches, and it just doesn't do anything for me. And it's the same thing. This Roman build was one of the best builds they've had in years over the last year of this Mania match. And that Mania match was by far the worst on the entire card. In 2 nights, that was by far the worst match on the entire card. At the end of it, you're just kind of like, the Royal Rumble, same way. You packed that Royal Rumble. They had all this hype for the Royal Rumble. And at the end, he just boom, 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 comes out. And it's just stupid. The Elimination Chamber, the ending of that, it was stupid. It was
Okay, but
it was such a letdown. But
I know, and you
just
got
to
a
finish
lot of
off, just to tie a bow tie, just to tie a quick bow tie on this, just to finish off, again, he's an all-time great in the sense of the word because he's been on top. He's an all-time draw, guaranteed. There's no question about that. He draws money. He drew money in the UFC. He's never let, him leaving WWE to go to UFC and do it at that level, getting world heavyweight fights in his first UFC fights is incredible. No one's ever done that. Kudos to guys like Hager and Bobby Lashley and other guys. But at the end of the day, to me, he's still an all-time letdown.
Okay, but by your own standard and by your own words, right? You're not just saying Lesnar is that. You also need to lump Cena into that because Cena's the product of booking. Cena's matches are almost always the same. It's going to be shoulder tackle, shoulder tackle, shoulder tackle, 5-knuckle shuffle. You can't see me. And then, Cena doesn't put on good matches, but arguably, Cena's one of the all-time greats. 15 world titles. You can't deny that. And I understand every single point of what you're saying. But the simple fact of the matter is, take Brock Lesnar, remove him from history. Who does what Brock Lesnar does in that time frame? There wasn't anybody else that could come in and do what he did when he did it. Batista, okay, whatever. OVW at that time was literally churning out talent like nobody's ever seen. And Brock Lesnar just happened to be the top dog at that time. And he got good booking. But we can't, he draws, he's put in the work, he's put in the time, he's put in the effort. He has more world title reigns than Hulk Hogan. But yet we say Hulk Hogan's one of the all-time greats. He has more
Hulk
world
Hogan was the
titles.
most popular wrestler on the planet. You can't take that away.
Okay, but he's had more world title reigns than Bart. He's had more world title reigns than Michaels. He's had more world title reigns than Mach. He's had more world title reigns than Henning. But you know what? Each one of them, you can make an argument as, yeah, definitely deserves to be considered one of the greatest of all time. Kurt Hennig was the perfect wrestler. He for what it is, Brock Lesnar.
Kurt Hennig was also much better at football than Brock Lesnar. I would just like to make that point.
Kurt Hennig was also much better at basketball, much better at baseball, much better at softball, much better at swimming. He's the only guy that can hit a piece of gum and make it look smooth. What you said about him not having personality, there's a lot of guys that didn't have personality that he benefited from Heyman. Lance Storm had no personality, but it took Al Snow to make him relevant. Everybody appreciated for what he did in the ring, but Al Snow's what gave him a personality. And he hated it, but he loved it at the end of it.
So you put again. I gave kudos to Heyman about that, but so to me that's a knock on Brock. Again, he didn't have much personality or anything like that until the UFC, and
neither did Rusev. There's a lot of guys.
We're not arguing if Rusev's an all-time great.
No, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of guys that haven't really had personality that were just kick-ass dudes.
Okay,
were like,
name another all-time great that doesn't have a personality. Just off the top of your head.
Andre.
Andre had personality. Just because you couldn't understand what he said half the time because of his accent doesn't mean he didn't have personality.
And all these legendary stories you heard about Andre was fucking crazy. He was a nut, dude. The dude definitely had personality.
But how did you help him get over? By putting him with Bobby the Brain. Like,
well, that's a little
different
different
he's over
because
7 foot and doesn't move well.
They didn't put him with Bobby Heenan necessarily to have Bobby Heenan talk for him. That was an added bonus. You put him with Bobby Heenan because Bobby Heenan was the biggest heel in the company. So in order to make the fans believe Andre the Giant was a bad guy, you line him up with Heenan.
Right.
That's a little different because Brock Lesnar could have been a bad guy on his own. Heyman being his mouthpiece because Brock was not a strong talker. Sure, but you know, I mean, we can go down the list of all-time greats that weren't good talkers, which is a whole different thing. But as far as like no personality goes, yeah, I mean,
okay, so all-time greats. Shawn was a talker. We all know that. Bret Hart really wasn't a talker. He cut average promos at best. Average promos at best. Because he came out and said the same thing. Best there is, best there was, the best there ever will be. He wasn't a great talker by any stretch of it.
I don't consider Bret Hart an all-time great.
You're out of your mind.
I don't like Bret Hart.
Hold on. That's no, don't ruin my future content. This is an argument we could have later.
Yeah, I don't like Bret Hart at all. Yeah, let's stay on Lesnar here.
Although back to the Bret Hart point, I don't think Bret Hart was a bad talker per se. It's just that his personality, his delivery was very was dry.
Canadian.
Oh, I'm Canadian.
Well, I mean, the counter to that would be Jericho and Owens and Sammy, but point taken because he was a little bit more stoic, or similar to another Canadian to Benoit. Benoit, granted, he's not in the all-time great category for obvious reasons, and also the fact that his career was cut significantly short. But he's another one that his personality was I beat you up. Right. That was basically Benoit's personality. He did not cut a good promo, but his personality all came out in his matches. But
now, we could even put it in current terms though too. Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley's not an all-time great, but Bobby Lashley's the exact same mold.
Technically, before this most recent, last 2 years, that was Roman's build too. I'm big.
Fair.
What was Roman's build? Just beat you up and just stand. That wasn't Roman's build. Roman had the family intricacies. He was talking every damn night.
Suffering succotash, anyone?
Suffering succotash, son.
Yeah.
But
his thing when we were sick of him was
the main thing with Brock is after every single one of his big matches and every one of these feuds, you're just empty and it's just like black.
Right. And then he goes away.
Who's Brock's greatest feud? You're probably Angle because it was the best match at WrestleMania.
Well, I was gonna say if you're going based on that, you would say Roman because it's been like 5 years.
I mean,
well,
you could also his feud with Goldberg, the second one, was that was a pretty good feud. And his feud with Cena, while it wasn't the greatest thing ever, I mean, if you think about his major feuds, he had Angle, he had Eddie, he had Goldberg, Triple H, Cena, Roman, and Lashley.
Seth was
Lashley wasn't a major feud.
I mean, it was because it was for the title that went on.
That was one match. No way.
It was a couple. But I mean, one of them he got injured during, but still. Even that build up I was just talking about. I didn't even throw in Day Lashley to get it to 7. That's so. I mean, but
that's
that wasn't a feud. That was
Okay,
that was one match and a multi-man match.
It was more.
The day one match was very disappointing again because of him.
but
Well,
you,
I mean, the feud was short, but it was still a feud.
but you
it,
look at the eras. But you're right. If you look at the eras, it was Angle, which made sense. Olympic gold medalist versus this collegiate wrestler. Both of them have similar backgrounds, so that they had that chemistry. They had that natural chemistry. Then you have Eddie. Okay, I'll give you that one. The Triple H stuff, yeah, he's on the list, but I'm sorry. Top 3 feuds
Nine
for him.
match is very forgettable.
Right. Well,
Top
we
three-
didn't. We weren't ranking his feuds. That's why I
Right.
mentioned it. You know, I would.
But no, what I'm saying is, as an all-time great, and again, I still consider him an all-time great just because of the other things, but I'm focusing on just some of the negatives here that push him down the list for me, where he won't be on a Mount Rushmore.
He's not gonna be on my Mount Rushmore either. Not at
But
all.
you can't name
But,
a lot of classic matches, and you can't name classic feuds.
Well, but you can't. There are some there. The Angle ones, the Eddie ones, and the Cena ones by far are the top 3 that I would say feud wise that he had, and it was Cena's the Golden Boy, and we all hate Golden
McIntyre.
Boys. But McIntyre he was a Golden Boy the second time around.
I'm saying McIntyre's a feud. That's more of a feud than Bobby Lashley.
that was only one match.
but it was
The Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble, and that's
Okay. If we're counting the Rumble, then that's got hundreds of feuds a year.
Hey, they were practically one-on-one in the Rumble, and then Ricochet with his little nut.
But I will absolutely say that Brock is an all-time great, but he's definitely not on a Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. Not by any state for me at all.
I mean, I think Brock's in the top 100, but
I put him in the top 20.
Yeah, I was going to say I could never.
I was going to say I don't know what 100 you're talking about, bro.
I'd even say he might even be top 10 all time.
I was just giving leeway.
Yeah, I was giving a lot of wiggle room.
Dude, James Ellsworth, dude, we go.
But he's going to round out at some point. He's going to be top 10, top 15 more likely, but he's going to be somewhere in that range because you have too many guys that we can put on there for other attributes. Like Dusty's an all-time great. Why? Because Dusty lived for the business. He never held a lot of titles, but Dusty's hands down one of the smartest people in the business. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have Q William Regal now. War Games. We wouldn't have all those fun things that he did. But is Dusty going to go on an all-time list? Most people are going to say, no, Dusty was just really good at doing okay, fine. I could argue that Dusty deserves to be on a Mount Rushmore. You could argue Brett deserves. You could argue Sting. You could argue Hogan.
A lot of people aren't going to that argument.
But everybody will have a validation for that argument. You're not going to find many people who can argue and validate as to why Lesnar sits on a Mount Rushmore. You're not. You're going to have people.
One positive I will say that you said there, but nobody's really brought up is another thing that makes Brock, on the all-time great list is his business sense. And that's, with that crisscrossing back and forth between the UFC, him negotiating his contracts and things of that nature. And, he's a smart son of a bitch when it comes to that stuff.
But if you even look at it, the one thing that it seems to be the common consensus about Lesnar backstage is that he's just an all-around good guy. A lot of people just say he's an all-around good guy. He believes in the business. He loves the business, whatever.
Have you really heard that much before the last 2 years?
Well, there was people that talked about it back before he left, that he wasn't the one that goes, okay, I want to end Taker's streak. No, it was Taker going, yeah, he can end my streak. If anybody's going to do it, I want him to be it. But he didn't Cena any storylines he was in. He didn't. He didn't kill 5, 6, 7 people's careers just because he felt like doing it on a Sunday.
Bullshit.
That's just who's name
bullshit. He
Who's?
cut the Dean Ambrose match at Mania. He cut the Dean Ambrose build because he didn't want to bump and he didn't want to go hardcore for Dean at Mania.
Okay, one match.
That. It doesn't matter. That's fresh out of the Shield. We all know out of those three, Ambrose had the worst singles run out of all three Shield members, and a lot of that was because of fucking Brock Lesnar's match. He got a big match at Mania, and it was fucking bullshit, and it sucked because Lesnar didn't want to sell for Dean.
And he was hot off of that, like, really, really, really good match against Triple H at Roadblock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one.
Doesn't matter that. And you know what? The guy ended up leaving the company. One of the teams in the company ended up leaving because he could never recover from that.
That he could never recover from that.
He did.
Dude,
Did he?
From the gas mask. Let's be
Did he?
real.
Did he recover
was
from that?
You literally brought him out in a gas mask 1 week and then went, "Oh wait, no, we
mean-
got to stop. That's stupid."
I mean, I would argue that he. I would argue
No one
that
even
he-
remembers the gas mask.
I would argue that
He does.
everybody remembers the gas mask, but I would argue.
Bullshit.
I would argue that he did recover from that because he had that. After that, he had that big Money in the Bank moment, and he had a title run. Now, the title run wasn't great, and I believe it had something to do with him talking to a plant. But he, he did. I would say he recovered from the Brock thing. There were other factors that led to him leaving. If you would have read the book,
that was definitely one of the early Stones cast that. He's
I guarantee you, yes, it pissed him off, but he wasn't like, screw this, I'm leaving WWE. He was just like, screw this guy. So his anger was focused just on Brock. His irritation was really focused on Brock.
So to my point, you made one politicking statement. Cena politic all the time on multiple different storylines. You know it. I know
all
it.
the top guys did. So did Triple H.
That's not true
Michaels
at
and all that.
all. Not all top guys freaking did that.
A majority of them did.
Sean did. Brett did.
Brett thinks he's above the business. He doesn't want to drop the title.
Austin did. Triple
Austin
H
took his
obviously.
ball and went home. The Rock.
Well, I mean, there was other stuff too. There was like
Well, Stone Cold didn't want to lose to Brock.
Cena's done it.
well, and for Stone Cold, he didn't want to lose to Brock then. But yeah, Stone Cold, he would politic. Yeah, the Undertaker.
And you know what, dude? You could say what you want. I'm sure the Undertaker's done it. I'm
Yeah.
sure he's done it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure he
yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
it
he has
was-
too. What I'm saying is, like, when you think of politicking, you do think of Cena, you think of Hogan, you think of Shawn, you think of Triple H. Those are the guys you hear politic. You didn't hear you have Ambrose. That's literally the only point you've had about politicking.
And that's a damn good point.
Okay, but he believes in the business. He's not going, I'm Brock Lesnar. The only way I'm coming back is if I get to squash this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Vince also plays the game of, you're Brock Lesnar and I'm bringing you back to squash this guy, this guy, this guy, because you know what?
I know.
Put
Hey,
more
I
money
know
in-
you don't watch the PMLs, but Brock Lesnar literally squashes fucking everybody this past year. Watch Elimination Chamber. He squashed 2 former world champions and an up-and-coming world champion in like a minute. It was bullshit.
Your teeth are
Did
amazing.
the same thing.
Who said that Lesnar booked that? Who said
Yeah.
Lesnar booked?
See, and that's the other thing is that because if you remember when he went over Roman was when he had that incident with Vince where he threw the belt at him because even Lesnar knew I should have put Roman over in that position. And I never really thought that Lesnar was not about putting somebody over. Lesnar, the thing with Ambrose was Lesnar didn't want to have that kind of crazy match that Dean wanted to have. But yeah, Lesnar put guys over. I mean, he let Goldberg, he put Goldberg over in what was that, like a minute and a half?
Let's be crystal clear here. I never brought up the politicking thing. I never said Lesnar politic to bury guys or anything like that. I never said that. In my little bit of a rant.
And
I was the one that
I don't even
said
know who I'm arguing with. I'm just
it was
arguing.
Coco that brings up this politicking shit. I said in my thing in the last 2-3 years, it's mostly been him putting over people at Mania. All right, like guys like McIntyre and Rollins and all these other guys. Okay, like Lesnar's WrestleMania record isn't that great, especially in the last couple years. So again, I said that he's been putting people over, but I'm saying his feuds suck and they're not memorable.
But okay, but then at that point, is it Lesnar's fault or is that just bad creative? Is that the writers?
I can't say it's bad creative because people want to see Lesnar get beat. They build him up into this superstar. Well, in this past one with the Roman, it was kind of split 50-50 just because of this, the babyface and heel turn change, which was kind of strange. But they built him up into this. So, like, again, prior feuds when he was Brock Lesnar with Heyman, they wanted to see guys get beat. They wanted to see him get beat. So I can't say it's bad creative because, people want to see him get beat. I'm just saying when he got beat and those matches, they sucked. They weren't good. They're just not good. They leave you wanting more. They leave you with Papa Grump's phrase in life. Man, that's what they leave you. Every time I watch a Brock Lesnar match at the end of it, it's just, man.
There's plenty of them that have done that.
I don't care. I don't care. This is about Lesnar right now. I don't care about the other ones right now.
Yeah, it's a different debate.
Eat, sleep, man, repeat.
I
Oh,
would
wait.
argue that, like, I don't think it's been all bad since he came back like this. I mean, I don't exactly know how we're divvying up his runs, but because I think that probably the best feud that he's had since he came back was Goldberg. That the build up with that and the fact that he got squished and he got eliminated and then he finally, got the match. But those matches were A, exactly what they needed to be, and B, they were kind of exciting. The problem is that those matches were very well received, were very over with the fans in attendance. They got loud responses, and suddenly every single Brock match was then, while before it was Suplex City, F5s, over. Then it became, let's see if we can take that, let him bump around a little bit, and see if we can squish it down into 5 minutes. And then he starts getting in feuds with guys that they wanted to have longer matches, but Lesnar, they still treated Lesnar's matches like they're like a 3 to 5 minute squash that just got stretched out over, X amount of time, like 15 minutes or whatever. And it really hurt his match quality.
I will give you that people were very excited for that, but that was also Goldberg's first time coming back.
I'm not saying it was
20 years.
I'm not saying it was Brock's best feud because of Brock, but
yeah,
Brock played his role perfectly in that feud.
And the other piece in that made that better is because they had a little bit of redemption because the original match from back in 03, 04.
WrestleMania.
I think it was Backlash or something.
The one everybody
No, it was a WrestleMania match. It was like what, 20? Was it 22?
I don't think it was a Mania match.
The original, the one where they were both leaving. That was WrestleMania.
It was awful.
Yes.
And it had a little bit of redemption where it's like, okay, this one wasn't as bad because it's like, okay, let's go in and make some money. But yeah.
Sorry.
WrestleMania 20.
That's what I was good. I was just about to say.
Yeah,
because they had Austin special guest refereeing it to try to do anything with it.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 20 is one of the top a top 3 WrestleMania main event of all time. I'll just leave that and then we'll keep it going. We don't have to mention anything else about it. That's a top 3 Mania match of all time.
He's talking about Chris Benoit, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's an all-time great match.
Oh my God, yeah. Never gonna get to rewatch it though.
So can we all just agree that Lesnar is an all-time great, but he'll never be on the Mount Rushmore?
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, he's not on mine.
He's not
Yeah,
on
I think whenever we do if we ever do a thing where we rank all-time greats, I'll bring the Board of Doom down, and I'll just be dry erasing and all that, dry erase marker and erasing like crazy, and maybe we'll hash it out.
I mean, we're all doing since we've been watching wrestling.
I would start with, because you can't, as much as it's going to irritate Junior, but you kind of have to start with the rock and wrestling beginning of sports entertainment Hulkamania era, because that's when the because that's when the business changed from what it was to a very early version of what it is now.
Right.
So you don't have to include Hulk, although if you're ranking it based on draws, then Hogan is like Mount Rushmore. But
I did state that it has to hit all three for him, or like there's a list you have to hit. So whatever.
Well, okay, yeah. So, but obviously you don't have to include him in your top 5, top 10 for obvious reasons. But I mean, some of these guys were bad dudes. They were not good people.
I mean,
Hulk Hogan has proved himself to not be a good person. However,
Look, you got to step on a lot of throats to get to the top. That's in any profession.
And I'm even talking about since his retirement, the Gawker stuff and all of that, and his half-hearted apology and a lot of stuff he's taken heat for over the last 5-10 years. But a lot of these guys did some bad stuff. Does the fact that Chris Benoit allegedly, because of the conspiracy theory, so I'm just playing both sides, murdered his wife and kids and killed himself?
You can't say allegedly.
I was saying for the conspiracy theories, I'm just trying to appease everybody.
Don't appease those people.
But does that mean that his match at WrestleMania 20 wasn't great? So you kind of have to leave the outside stuff outside when you're looking at, what they did for or to the business, you know what I mean? So, all right, that's going to be it for us. We don't have a topic planned for next week, but we will, in some fashion, introduce the new board members. So, and find out if that person's okay, because they may need to vote soon.
I would like to say this, though, to Brock, because I know you're watching. I really do love you, dude.
He's the one.
I respect you. You're the man. I just want more out of your matches, and I'm just don't kill me, and just know that I respect you, and I respect your wife Sable, and I named my cat Sable when I was like 8.
And
so I just want you to know that,
Brock, if you are watching, let the video play to the end, okay? It doesn't really do anything. It just, the analytics irritate me whenever I notice that people aren't watching to the end. I mean, come on. All the good stuff's in the back half of the episode anyways.
And the only reason apologizing to Lesnar is because no one wants him to F5 Kevin with that massive dome, because that's going to cause a freaking 10.2 magnet.
This one is
all right. This is that's where we're going to end it. So let me change my view so I can do my pointing. So okay. So that's been GoldenBoy. There's CJTruth, and there's Junior. I've been Big Papa Grump, and we'll see you next week.
Top percenter out.